Cam King is our next speaker. He comes representing Farm Rebel. Farm Rebel is one of the sponsors that we have here today, as well as Ranch Vision and the AV Hub of the Savory Institute. They've been great sponsors. Some of you are probably here because of them sharing this information. So, Cam, what are you going to be speaking to us about today?
Well, we're going to cover a lot of ground. I'm going to share about 10 different reasons why I think it's the best time in the history of the world to be a farmer or rancher, and why I'm so optimistic for the future.
Love it. All right. Well, let's roll right into it. We're glad that you're able to join us.
Cool. Thank you for having me. First of all, I'm honored to be here. Many of the people that are on this call and that have been sharing so far in the last couple of days are some of my heroes, people I've looked up to for years. I see Burke sitting right there, and I remember the first time that he and I had dinner at the Black Bear Diner in Orem, Utah, maybe 7 or 8 years ago, and he taught me all kinds of stuff, and I've been learning stuff from him
That is
ever since.
awesome.
All right, well, I will never forget the day that my dad got fitted for his radiation mask. He had just been diagnosed with stage 4 throat cancer, and I had driven 4 hours to go with him to one of his appointments. And I waited in the lobby as they strapped him down and fitted the mask that would pin him in place for treatment. When he came out, a nurse handed us a box, and she said, "This is a gift. We give one to every cancer patient." Inside were nutrition drinks donated by a major food company, and I turned one over and read the label. Over 30 grams of sugar per serving. And in that moment, I realized that they are giving people poison and calling it medicine. And that moment lit a fire in me, because if we were going to help my dad heal and if we were going to protect our children, then we had to take our health and our food into our own hands. But the more we searched, the more we realized that the healthiest food simply wasn't available. The grocery store shelves were full of lies. Labels said grass-fed or organic, but the fine print revealed the truth. Product of Brazil, product of Australia, imported from overseas, no real transparency. And that's when something unexpected happened. One evening, I was sitting on the back porch with my father-in-law. The sun was setting over the alfalfa fields. The cows were grazing in the distance. And I asked him, "Hey, what's your plan for those cows?" And he said, "I've got no plan." So I asked, "Are they grass-fed?" And he said, "Yep." I said, "All right, well, I think I've got an idea." And at the time, like, we had been trying to find food like this for our family. And this was a new acquisition, a new business investment that my father-in-law had made. And we thought, well, we're trying to find food for our family. And how many other families are out there like us doing the same thing? And that night, I shared the idea with my wife. She was all in, and we got to work that same week. And we didn't even have a business name, but we had a mission. And it wasn't long before we started hearing from others, from farmers, from ranchers. People all across the country were asking for help. They wanted to know how we were selling our beef, how we were reaching customers, and how we were charging premium prices. So I did what I've always felt called to do, and I started teaching. I sat in a little room on Mercer Island while on vacation, and my kids and wife were playing at the lake, and I created an Instagram account called Grass-Fed Marketing. I wrote out about 12 posts and uploaded a free PDF with our marketing strategy. And frankly, then I forgot about it. A few months later, I logged back in. Over 1,200 farmers had downloaded it. And that was the moment I realized that this isn't just a business, it's a movement. Because the truth is, the cavalry isn't coming, but we don't need it to. Right now, in spite of all the challenges, this is the greatest moment in the history of agriculture to be a farmer or a rancher. You have the power to not only feed your neighbors, but many more, to heal your land, to change your legacy. And the tools have never been better. So today, I want to show you exactly why I believe we are perfectly positioned to win. So how do we know this movement is real? Let's start with the one thing that matters most in any business. If you're going to start a business or grow one, there's one question that you need to ask. Is the market growing or shrinking? Because even with the best product in the world, if you're in a dying market, you're fighting a losing battle. But here's the good news. You're in the middle of one of the fastest growing food markets in America, and most producers, they don't even realize it. And I'm not talking about the conventional cattle business. I'm not talking about chasing commodity prices or praying at the auction. I'm talking about the direct-to-consumer meat market, the I want to know my farmer market, the is it grass-finished market, the I'm done trusting labels market. And that market is on fire. Just look at the numbers. Demand for grass-finished beef alone has grown at double-digit rates every year for over 25 years straight. Retail sales labeled fresh grass-fed beef grew from 17 million in 2012 to 272 million in 2016, doubling every year during that stretch. Over 70% of US consumers say that they want more transparency in their food supply. 1 in 3 shoppers under 40 say that they buy based on values like sustainability, animal welfare, and local sourcing. This isn't a trend. This is a full-blown shift. And the best part, you're already sitting on what they want. Most of you are already raising cattle, but right now, you're probably selling a commodity when you could be selling a premium story, a connection, and a health solution. Right now, ranchers are selling steers for $2,500 at auction, but that same steer finished out and sold direct can generate $6,000. Same cow, same effort, different model. And this isn't theory, it's happening all across the country right now. The only thing separating those who are capturing that value from those who are stuck in the old system is marketing. This is why we say you're not too late. You're right on time. You just have to shift from being in the cattle business to being in the people business. And that starts with seeing the demand for what it really is, a rising tide, just waiting to lift your business. You don't have to go chase some brand new opportunity. You're already in the right place. You're already in the right opportunity. You're already raising the right animals. You just need to shift the way you see the value of what you produce because consumers already do. And they're looking for farmers just like you to buy from. You just need to step into the opportunity that's been growing around you quietly but steadily for the last 30 years. Consumer demand is rising, the old system is breaking, and for the first time in a long time, the family farm and ranch has the upper hand. This is your moment to build something lasting, to finally be profitable, to pass on something that matters to your children. Not just land, but leverage. Not just a ranch, but a future. And I believe that you were born for this. And the timing couldn't be better. And here's the best part. Even with all that demand, you don't have to build your business the hard way because the tools that you need, they've never been more powerful or more accessible. The second force working in your favor is this. Technology is no longer the barrier, it's the breakthrough. 20 years ago, if you wanted to sell meat directly to customers, you needed deep pockets and a lot of time. Companies like Omaha Steaks spent decades building their brand. They spent millions of dollars on catalogs, call centers, TV ads, print ads, and shipping infrastructure. And that was the only way to do it back then. Now, you can build a brand like that from your kitchen table. You don't need a graphic designer. You don't need to pay someone to write emails or ads. You don't need a tech team to build your website. With tools like Shopify, Squarespace, Canva, ConvertKit, and others, you can build it all yourself, fast and cheap. And now with AI, you can write all your emails and product descriptions, build a content calendar, create captions, headlines, images, even videos. And you can schedule everything to go out while you're doing chores or working cattle. What used to take a team of 5 full-time people, you can now do by yourself in 2 hours a week. And let's not forget the biggest shift of all, the smartphone. In 2007, less than 10% of Americans had one. Today, it's over 90%. And most of them, unfortunately or fortunately, check their phones over 300 times a day. That means that your customers, the ones who care about grass-finished, local, nutrient-dense meat, they're reachable. Not by a billboard or a commercial, but by a story in their feed, an email in their inbox, or a reel on their phone. You don't need to go big to grow a great business anymore. You just need to be present and be consistent and use the tools that are already available. Once you learn how to use these tools, they stop being intimidating and they start being powerful. When you combine old school stewardship with modern tools, you don't just keep up, you outrun the entire system. And when the right tools meet the right message, things start to move because the next force working in your favor is all about leverage. Not just time leverage, trust leverage. The third force working in your favor is what we call borrowed trust. This is different from building your own audience. This is about leveraging the trust that someone else has already built and pointing it in your direction. For the first time in history, farmers and ranchers can plug into that trust at scale through podcasts, influencers, partnerships, organic shout-outs, and all of these things, they spread like wildfire. And the best part, you don't have to be famous. You don't need a big ad budget. You just need to be doing honest, high integrity work and to be findable. One of our clients, Chloe Parker of Parker Pastures in Colorado, she's a great example. Just last week, one of her customers was a guest on the Joe Rogan podcast, and he gave her business a spontaneous shout out. Now, Chloe didn't ask for it, and she didn't pay for it. She simply earned that customer's loyalty by doing great work and delivering a great product. But because that shout out happened on one of the biggest podcasts in the world, over 20,000 visitors flooded her website in the first 12 hours. And it translated into thousands of dollars in orders. Now, that's the power of borrowed trust. The person who shares your business, whether it's a podcast guest, a YouTuber, a gym owner, or a nutritionist, they've already spent years building connection with their audience. And when they recommend you, that trust, it transfers. And right now, there are health influencers and homesteading moms and functional medicine doctors, local pastors, fitness coaches, and more. And they're all speaking to your exact ideal customer. And many of them are looking for brands, businesses, and people that they can promote, people they believe in. And the best partnerships, they're not built on gimmicks. They're built on shared values. And that's what makes this such a powerful force. It's not about faking something. It's about telling your story and staying consistent and giving people something they're proud to share. You don't need to master every social platform, and you don't need to chase attention. You just need to be ready when trust comes knocking, because it only takes one connection to unlock massive momentum. And momentum is great, but you know what's even better? Margin. Because once you have attention, you need to know how to turn it into money. So let's talk about pricing, profits, and building a model that actually works, no matter what the market is doing. The fourth force working in your favor is financial. And it's one of the most freeing shifts a producer can make. You don't have to be a price taker anymore. Right now, cattle prices are high. They're super high. But here's what most producers don't realize is that they can sell that animal direct to the consumer, and they can charge $15 a pound on average or even more. We have clients all over the country that are doing that, and they're doing it by the hundreds, and even some are doing it by the thousands. And these aren't fancy marketers. These are fifth generation ranchers, homeschooling moms, and small family farms. And they're succeeding because they're selling into a market that's not price sensitive. It's value driven. And these customers, they care about quality. They care about nutrient density. They care about sourcing from someone they trust. And here's the kicker. You don't even need to take anyone's word for it. Just walk into a specialty grocery store and look at the price. Grass-finished beef, $10 to $14 per pound for ground beef, minimum. And most of that meat is imported, vaccinated, has no traceability, no transparency. Your product, it's fresher, your practices are better, you're the real deal. And the right customers know that. But here's the trap most producers fall into. They look around to what their neighbors are charging, maybe their cousin's price, the farmer's market, the co-op board, and they say, well, I guess that's what the market can bear. But that's not the market, that's your zip code. There are nearly 400 million people in North America, and a growing number of them are actively searching for what you produce. So when you use micro data, like what other 5 ranchers in your area are doing, to make macro decisions about your pricing and business model, you miss the real opportunity. And here's the shift. Most of the producers today aren't competing on price. They're winning by creating compelling offers. Here's one example that's worked again and again. We first started doing this in 2015, and we've helped our clients do it for nearly a decade now. And that is when people buy a half or a whole beef, just give them a free chest freezer. It's a couple $100. You're priced at a premium, you've got great margins, and that single bonus incentivizes people to pull the trigger and say, yes, I want what you have, and here's my money. So that single offer has actually helped dozens of our clients so far. And we're talking selling thousands of half and whole beef packages. Now, why? Why does it work? Well, first, because it's clear and it solves a real problem, and it feels valuable. And that's what a compelling offer does. And once your offer is in place, your job becomes simple. Drive as much traffic as possible to that offer. And that's the model, and it works. Whether cattle prices are high, low, or somewhere in between, you don't need more cows, you don't need more land, you need more people seeing your offer. And that's the difference between commodity producers and profitable brands. The old model says, if you want to make more, you need to scale up. The new model says, if you want more, you need to price better and market smarter. And when you shift from asking, what will people pay me, to asking, what is this worth to the right person, that's when your business will start to change. And now that you're starting to price for value instead of volume, let's talk about one of the biggest reasons that value keeps going up. And that's the science is finally catching up to what you have always known. The fifth force working in your favor is one that goes beyond pricing and marketing. It goes straight to the why behind what you do, and that's health. For decades, producers like you have been raising animals on pasture, moving them across the land and building soil, keeping chemicals and confinement out of the equation. And for decades, the mainstream said, that doesn't really matter. All beef is the same. You can't taste the difference. But that story is collapsing because science is finally catching up. Today, research is confirming what you have always known, that how food is raised affects how it nourishes the body. That grass-finished beef is higher in omega-3s, CLA, B vitamins, antioxidants. That pasture-raised pork and poultry, they have radically different fatty acid profiles than their confined counterparts. That produce grown in healthy soil contains exponentially more micronutrients and phytochemicals than industrial alternatives. Dr. Stefan van Vliet at Utah State University has shown that meat raised on diverse pasture contains more phytonutrients, more antioxidants, and a healthier fat profile than grain-finished meat. His lab is helping establish something powerful, that animals raised regeneratively don't just support the land, they support better human health. And your customers, that's exactly what they want. Not cheap calories, deep nourishment. This is why we're seeing a huge increase in people asking, where was this raised? What was it fed? What chemicals were used? When was it harvested? Who raised it? And how do I trust them? Because for them, it's not just food, it's medicine. And the shift is accelerating. And so people aren't just buying beef. They're buying nutrient density, immune support, better digestion, fertility and hormone balance, brain health, energy, recovery, and sleep. They're buying a better life. And they see the connection between food and function more clearly than ever. And that's where you come in. Because no amount of corporate greenwashing can fake what you do. You raise real food. You steward the land. And you can back it up with photos, stories, and transparency that they can't get anywhere else. And so when someone buys from you, they're not just making a better health decision, they're making a better life decision. And the science, it's finally on your side. And here's some more good news. You don't have to do this alone because the infrastructure to support your direct-to-consumer business, it's already been built. You just have to plug in. The sixth force working in your favor is one that most people never see. And it's what makes all of this work. It's infrastructure. 15 years ago, if you wanted to start a D2C meat business, the logistics were overwhelming. Ask me how I know. You needed a website, which meant hiring a designer. You needed a credit card processor, which meant a clunky merchant account. You needed packaging, storage, shipping, software, a scale, a label printer. You had to figure out dry ice. What a hassle that was. Insulation, transit times, order tracking, and all the rest. You needed a way to keep it all organized and moving. It was possible, but it was slow, and it was expensive, and it was manual. But today, you can build a real, functioning, profitable business without building it all yourself. You can accept payments in minutes with Stripe, Square, or PayPal. You can print labels and ship nationwide with tools like Pirate Ship or ShipStation. You can find affordable insulated shippers and liners online. You can schedule pickups right from your farm. You can store inventory in 3PL cold storage facilities if needed. There are even companies that specialize in cold shipping fulfillment. So if packing boxes isn't your thing, you can outsource that too. For local deliveries, you can use tools like Route Savvy or batch deliveries through basic map software and a simple system. And the online storefront, that part's easier than ever. We recommend two options. Shopify, which is excellent for flexibility and scale, and Local Line, which is purpose-built for farmers and food producers. In fact, we know the founder of Local Line, Cole, and we love what he's built. It's easy to use, designed for producers, and it's built specifically for people like you. And you don't need to be tech savvy. You don't need to hire a developer. You don't need to become an expert in logistics or web design. If you've got a laptop, a phone, and let's say a weekend, you can launch. And when you grow, you can grow intelligently by outsourcing one piece at a time. Maybe storage, maybe shipping, maybe just labeling or customer service. But here's the thing. You don't need to do everything. You just need to do the right things. The hard infrastructure, it's already in place. The technology, it's easier than it's ever been. The cost is lower than it's ever been. You don't need to build a system. You just need to use it. And now, here's where it gets even more interesting. While infrastructure has quietly evolved to support you, the big food system is starting to crack. And the next force that we're going to look at, it might just be the most unexpected advantage of all. And that's policy and system change. The seventh force working in your favor, it's a big one, and it's been a long time coming. The food system, It's finally cracking, and small farms are rising through the gaps. For decades, the regulatory landscape, labeling laws, market structures, all of those things have been favored consolidation and centralization and control by a handful of massive players. We all know this. The four largest meat packers control 80+% of the beef market. Imported meat can be legally be labeled product of the USA if it's merely packaged here. And thousands of local processors have been bought out, shut down, or priced out by red tape and regulation. But now the pressure is building, the cracks are showing, and we're seeing rising consumer pressure to fix country of origin label. We're seeing legislation and lawsuits aimed at stopping deceptive labeling practices. We're seeing antitrust attention on packer consolidation and unfair market control, growing support for small and regional processors. We're even seeing policy changes at the state and federal level, new funding programs, new grants for small lockers and processors, new rules around on-farm slaughter in some states. Now, we still have a long way to go, but make no mistake, momentum is finally shifting. Consumers are pushing, producers are organizing, and lawmakers are listening. For the first time in a generation, the policy winds aren't just blowing against you, they're starting to shift in your favor. Because when consumers, independent producers, and processors all want the same thing, a transparent, local, resilient food system, even the big players can't stop it forever. And here's what that means for you. You don't need to wait for the system to change. You can build your business in the cracks of the old system. You can leverage the infrastructure and trust you already have and start meeting the demand that's rising up all around you. You don't need to wait for the Calvary. You are the Calvary. And if you feel like the world is waking up, you're right. Because it's not just policy that's shifting, it's the entire culture. And there's a powerful movement behind you, bigger than you think. And the eighth force working in your favor isn't just tactical, it's cultural. There's a movement behind you, and it's enormous. Every day, more Americans are waking up to the truth about food and the damage that's being done by the centralized, industrialized, ultra-processed food system. And they're not just frustrated. They're searching for solutions, and they're finding it in you. We're watching this cultural shift take place in powerful ways. It's the rise of Bobby Kennedy Jr. and the MAHA movement. Yeah, a full-blown national awakening around the connection between chronic disease, chemical agriculture, food sovereignty, and health freedom. It's also in the work of Callie and Casey Means, who are leading a grassroots change to reorient health policy. And they're also exposing food system corruption and advocating for whole foods and transparency. Casey's work in functional medicine and Callie's behind-the-scenes advocacy for MAHA are waking up millions to the role that food, real food, the role that it plays in the long-term health. And it's in leaders like Vani Hari, known as the Food Babe, who's rallied millions of moms, families, and everyday Americans to read labels, question ingredients, and reject the chemical-laced garbage parading as food on grocery store shelves. And of course, it's in the lifelong work of people like Joel Salatin and Gabe Brown, who have preached regeneration, stewardship, and sovereignty long before it was trendy. These people and millions more are not just talking about change. They're starting buying clubs, they're educating their audiences, they're promoting small farms, they're actively shaping what's next. And behind them, a groundswell of faith-based families, homeschool moms, nutritionists, health-conscious consumers who are all building a food system that actually nourishes their homes. This movement isn't waiting on a political solution. It's building local relationships, email lists, food clubs, and wait lists for local meat, raw milk, and right now, it's not fringe and it's not niche. It's mainstream for millions of families. They don't want fake meat. They don't want ultra-processed junk. They want food they can trust from people they can look in the eye. And you, the real food producer, are exactly what they're looking for. So don't buy the lie that says that people don't care. They care deeply. They're already organizing. The only thing they're missing is a farmer to buy from. You don't need to start a movement. You just need to show up to the one that's already happening. The ninth force working in your favor is what we call earned attention. This is different from force 3, where someone else talks about you. This is you building your own audience. It's you earning their attention. For the first time in history, farmers and ranchers can earn attention at scale, directly, consistently, and without gatekeepers. You don't need a buyer. You don't need a broker. You don't need a distributor or a spot in a grocery store. If you have a smartphone and an offer, you can reach thousands, even tens of thousands of aligned customers this week. That was never possible before. Yeah, you could always show up at the market or run an ad in a local paper, but now you can record a single video from your phone, behind the scenes look at how you raise animals and pair that with a simple, compelling offer and have people lining up to buy. You can drive traffic, build your list, grow your brand, all from the palm of your hand. That's what our client and friend Josh Schwab did. He didn't have a huge audience. He wasn't polished or fancy, but he stayed consistent. He showed the farm, he told the truth, and he made an irresistible offer. Again, buy a half or a whole cow, get a free chest freezer. That one video brought in tens of thousands of dollars in sales almost immediately. And then he promoted that video as an ad and he put a couple $1,000s behind it. And it generated over $200,000 in sales in a couple weeks. Now, why did it work? Well, it was because he had a clear, proven offer, a simple content framework, and the willingness to take action and improve along the way. This isn't magic, it's a skill. But it's a skill that you can learn. Just like fencing, calving, moving pasture, you already do the hardest work there is, and that's raising food with integrity. This is a new kind of work, and that's all. But it's not harder, it's just different. And when you have the right frameworks, the right examples, and the right offer, it becomes very simple, not easy. You don't need to go viral. You don't need to become an influencer. You just need to earn trust consistently and give people a clear path to buy. Because here's the truth. The tools are here. The audience is here. The demand is rising. All you have to do is show up and start using what's already in your hand. And that leads us to the final force. Because with all this momentum, the tools, the demand, the infrastructure, the cultural tailwinds, there's still one piece left. And it might just be the most important piece of all. The 10th and final force working in your favor is the most important of them all. It's you, not the version of you the commodity system tried to reduce you to, but the real you, a provider, a steward, a protector, a builder, someone who doesn't wait for orders, but steps forward when it matters most. For too long, farmers and ranchers have been boxed in as just suppliers, as background players in a story written by someone else. But that story is breaking and the whole world is hungry for a new one. Right now, people are looking for food that they can trust. And more than that, they're looking for someone that they can trust to lead them. And that's you. Farmers and ranchers are the natural leaders of this movement because you already live the values the world is trying to remember: stewardship, sacrifice, faith, family, integrity, connection to the land. The world doesn't need you to become something that you're not. It needs you to become more visible in what you already are. The health-conscious mom wants to follow a rancher she trusts. The homeschooling family wants to support someone who shares their values. The recovering cancer patient wants to buy from someone who takes the land seriously. The only thing missing is your voice. Not a loud voice and not a perfect voice, just a willing voice. Willing to share your story, to show your work, and to lead your people. Because make no mistake, you have people. Customers, families, communities, all just waiting for someone to follow. And here's the truth. You don't need to go viral. You don't need to become a marketer. You don't need to abandon your values or your lifestyle. You just need to raise your flag, to step out of the shadows and say, here's how we do it. Here's what we believe. Here's what food should look like. Because once you do that, once you take the reins and lead, you'll realize the momentum was already there. You don't need to create a movement, you just need to lead it. The future of food is going to be decentralized, transparent, and built on trust. The only question is, who's going to lead that future? Let it be you, and let it be us. You were born for this moment. You're exactly where you need to be. Now it's time to take the reins, and let's build the future of food together. So I want to leave you with one truth, and I hope it echoes in your heart long after this Zoom room is empty. You are not too late. In fact, you're right on time. I know the headlines, I know the policies, I know the prices of hay and fuel and inputs. I know the weight that you carry. But I also know what I see every day in the lives of real farmers and ranchers across this country. I see people building something that matters. I see people reclaiming their sovereignty. I see families feeding their communities, regenerating their land, building legacies of stewardship and strength. And the truth is, we need you to win, not just for your sake, but for the world's sake. Because in a time of confusion, you are clarity. In a time of convenience, you are conviction. In a time of manipulation, you are honesty. In a time of broken systems, you are the rebuilders. I believe that God did not place you here by accident, that you were born for this time, this season, this moment in history, and you carry more influence than you think. You have more tools than you've ever had. You are more equipped than generations before you could have dreamed. You are not a victim of the system. You are the solution. So go build, go plant, go sell, go speak, go lead, because the world needs farmers and ranchers like you to succeed. And there has never been a better time to do it than right now. And if you're ready to take the next step, if this message stirred something in you, if you feel like this is your time, I want to give you something that will help you hit the ground running. We've put together a resource vault that's packed with the exact tools that we've used to help hundreds of farmers and ranchers grow their D2C businesses. It includes all kinds of stuff. Step-by-step checklist to help you get your first or next customers, templates for emails, offers, social posts, simple walkthroughs to set up your website, price your beef, build a wait list, and practical strategies for creating content and driving traffic, even if you're just starting from scratch, and honestly, so much more. And it's not theory and it's not fluff. It's the stuff that works. We don't give this away often, but we're doing it now because we believe in Jared's mission and we believe in you. So just go to farmrebel.com/the-vault to get instant access. No pressure, no strings, just a real gift to help you take the next step forward. And again, because the future of food is local, it's transparent, and it's built on trust, and it starts with producers like you. So thank you for spending a few minutes with me today. I truly believe that the best is yet to come.
I said, let's get an amen from the audience. A resounding amen. Thank you so much, Cam. Thank you for that message. There we are. There we are. There we are. Wake up, people. Amen. Absolutely. That was a call to revival. What a way to end this event. Thank you, Cam. Thank you so much for the preparation, for the time, for the years of experience, for facing the fire. When you put yourself up there as an expert, which you are, you're going to find haters. You're going to find people that badmouth you. You're going to find people who drag your name through the mud, call you the evilest of evil, discredit you, and would cause you bodily harm if they could. And you faced that for us. So thank you. We appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you.